here goes nothing, y'all. I have decided to start a vlog, and we'll see how long this adventure goes. But for those of you who know me in real life, know where to start. Well, for those of you who know me in real life, I am trying to keep this vlog as anonymous as possible. We'll see how that works out for non-tech savvy me. But probably there will be a vlog episode somewhere in the coming months about anonymity and how beautiful and, yes, it gets a bad rap these days on social media for very good reasons. People are cruel when they think they're anonymous. But also, anonymity is a beautiful thing. If you've ever lived in a small town, you know anonymity is a beautiful thing. If you've ever been judged harshly, whether you're a military spouse like me or not, if you've ever been judged harshly, you know that anonymity is a beautiful thing. And because I am a military spouse and I move around a lot, and I'm not always the most tactful person, I try really, really hard in my public social media presence to be tactful, like on my Facebook, etc. I try not to post things that a future employer might take offense at, or some random person who really doesn't know me from Adam might take out of context and think, oh, I don't want to be friends with her. She's like that person, if that makes sense. I try and keep my Facebook profile and other things as like mellow, unimpressive, all that as possible. But in this season of coronation, I still love connecting. I'm an extrovert, and I have little kids at home. I have a first grader who's we're just in our second week of virtual first grade, and I am very much looking forward to at some point her being able to participate in hybrid schooling again. But right now it's virtual, and I have 2.5-year-old twins, and sometimes it's hard to find time to hear myself think, let alone get together with friends when social distancing and masks and all of that is in play. So yeah, I'm missing my friends and loving connecting with them when I can, whether through Voxer or Facebook or Facebook rooms or Marco Polo. I told you I was an extrovert, right? So this vlog is yet another attempt for extroverted me to connect with people during a pandemic, both those who I know in real life and also potentially those of you that I don't know in real life. But one of my goals is to be brutally honest and transparent to a degree that I am not always on my Facebook page, because I'm hoping to stay somewhat anonymous. So we'll see how that works out. Wish me luck. Also, if you don't know me, I am not very tech savvy. So, especially on these early vlogs, bear with me. Today's vlog episode is going to be about being brave. And it's partially inspired by my friend Laura, who's done some very brave things this last, well, I'd say her whole life, but especially in the last 2 or 3 months that I've known her, she's just done some incredibly brave things, and she inspires me impressively. And she also thinks I'm brave, which just blows my mind. But anyway, she thinks I'm brave for parenting 3 little humans and being a military spouse and being a good friend and getting up every morning and facing the music and starting a new job. I have taken a part-time job, just a day and a half a week, as a school nurse at one of the elementary schools in our school district. And it's an adventure. It's a challenge, and it's also a very rewarding job. And it also freaks me out. So I do not feel brave, but Laura thinks I'm brave. And Laura also says, very wisely, that most of the time when we're doing something brave, we don't actually feel brave. We just can't find any other option other than to do this. Like, it just feels like the least bad option to do this thing that freaks us out. And we don't think we're being brave at all. If that makes sense. I'm not summarizing her very well. But, so talking about being brave, I thought I would show you all something that I earned when I was, 95. I was probably 13 years old when I earned this third place thing in the Godalming Arts Festival in the UK, where my family was living at that time. And I am an extrovert, but I was always shy as a kid. Like, my parents named me Anna, and the person that you will hear about today is a gentleman by the name of Paul Fenner, and he used to call me Anna Rooney sometimes, and I just always loved that. So if I'm going to do an anonymous blog, why not call myself Anna Rooney? Because whenever I think about Anna Rooney, I feel brave and adventurous and invincible, like a 10-year-old kid again. And I also feel small and shy and dearly loved, like I always felt when Paul Fenner would affectionately call me Anna Rooney. But in 1995, I was homeschooled. I'd been homeschooled all my life up to that point, which had been advantageous for me as far as our family moving around internationally. I was not a good speller. Still am not a good speller. But at least the only spelling I was ever tested on and graded on in school was American English spelling. So I recognize and read British English spelling very well. And occasionally I might slip up and spell neighbor Neighbour, which, is the proper way to spell it. But I try and spell appropriately for my geographical region, which right now is the United States of America. And the U.S. has always been my passport country, and I love the U.S. dearly. And even if I wasn't an atrocious speller, I suppose I'd probably still mix up my English spellings sometimes. So anyway, that's a little bit of a ramble. But what was I going to say? Oh gosh, anybody who watches the early episodes of this blog is just going to have to be very patient. Yes, so I was 13 years old, homeschooled up to that point, and one of the things that my parents, particularly my dad, felt pretty passionately about was that they wanted, they knew that fear of public speaking is huge for humanity as a whole, and they did not want their kids they wanted their kids, even though homeschooled, and especially because of being homeschooled, they wanted us to develop that mental muscle or that ability or that skill to face that fear and get up in front of people and talk. They didn't want that to be a limiting fear for our lives. Just because we were in a small classroom size being homeschooled, they wanted to mitigate as much as possible our fear of public speaking in case that ever became important in our lives or careers down the road. I was still petrified when I did college speech class. I took it the first semester of my freshman year. I don't know what I was thinking. Probably I just wanted to get it out of the way. Maybe it just fit my schedule. And I still get scared every time I speak in public. But anyway, This was the very first time I participated in the Godalming Arts Festival, and I was petrified. My parents made me sign up for 2 events. One was a poem, which you memorized and recited from memory. And the other was a reading, maybe like a Bible passage reading, I think. Anyway. Paul Fenner, who is definitely theatrically gifted, because he's kind and wonderful and generous, and probably also because he may have been the adult that told my parents about the Godalming Arts Festival and kind of helped them find out how to get us signed up. He very kindly coached me and my older sister, and I don't remember if any of my younger siblings participated in the Godalming Arts Festival that year, but he very, very kindly and patiently and wonderfully coached us a little bit. So at least once, maybe twice, before I got up on a stage and recited my little poem in front of the adjudicators. I had recited it in front of Paul Fenner, and he'd given me a pointer or 2. And the poem that I picked that year, there were 3 poems, and you could pick one. And the poem I picked to recite is that one circled Done. And it's a poem for whom the author is unknown, but it's a poem called It Couldn't Be Done. And I will share it to you at the end of this vlog. But suffice it to say, one dreary, drab, probably March or February winter day in the UK when I was about 13 years old, I and my mother drove to Godalming, which was like a few towns over, and I walked into a very large auditorium, like where the seating is like, and what do you call it? Stadium seating? Anyway, it was wood floors. It was a beautiful auditorium. It wasn't a gym. There was like, I think, one of those velvet curtains that could be pulled across the stage. And I sat with about 20 or 30 students in, I think, folding chairs down near the front of the auditorium. And there was like a long table with, I think, 3 adjudicators sitting at that table with, their papers and stuff for grading us. And we all took turns, one after another, getting up on the stage. And when they nodded to us that we could begin, we each recited our poem. And there weren't many kids that picked my poem, I don't think. I think there was a different one of the 3 that was the most popular one that year. But I'm sure there was at least 5, maybe as many as 10 kids that picked my poem. And it was actually very good for me that I was towards the end. Because, and this is horrible of me, but as kid after kid got up on stage, well, this isn't horrible. It normalized for me that everybody was afraid. Like, I saw that in every single student. Some of us were better at faking it, that we weren't afraid than others, but everybody was afraid. And so as student after student got up on that stage and recited their poems, I thought, well, at least I'm not as bad as them. Or I could be almost as good as that maybe. Or, well, at least I won't be the most scared one up on stage. And lo and behold, when it was my turn to get up on stage, I was quite frightened. Pretty sure my legs were shaking. I tried not to lock them. I remembered all the things that Paul Fenner had told me. To look at the clock on the back of the room. To remember that I was just reciting a poem, just as I had at home so many times as I was memorizing it. To look at the adjudicators, to make eye contact, and smile when they looked at me. Anyway, when the adjudicator looked at me and gave me a nod, I smiled bravely and tried not to lock my knees. And I looked up at that wall on the clock on the far back wall, which felt like forever far away. And I tried to smile bravely, and I recited my poem. And I'm pretty sure my voice cracked. I feel like my voice is cracking to you guys even now. What year was it? 95? 25 years later, my voice still cracks, and I still get the shakes thinking about that time. And actually, when I look at it now, it says solo verse under 13. So I must have been 12, almost going on 13 when this happened, because I was in the under 13 group. Anyway, whole bunch of 12-year-olds climbing up on a stage, trying their hardest to be brave. Take the deep breath and recite the poem that you've memorized. And this was my poem. It couldn't be done. Author unknown. Somebody said that it couldn't be done, but he, with a chuckle, replied that maybe it couldn't, but he would be one who wouldn't say so till he tried. So he buckled right in, with a bit of a grin on his face. If he worried, he hid it. He started to sing as he tackled the thing that couldn't be done. And he did it. Somebody scoffed. Oh, you'll never do that. At least no one ever has done it. And he took off his coat and he took off his hat. And the first thing we knew, he'd begun it. With a lift of his chin and a bit of a grin, without any doubting or quit it. He started to sing as he tackled the thing that couldn't be done. And he did it. There are thousands to tell you it cannot be done. There are thousands to prophesy failure. There are thousands to point out to you, one by one, the dangers that are sure to assail you. But just buckle in with a bit of a grin, then take off your coat and go to it. Just start in to sing as you tackle the thing that cannot be done, and you'll do it. I don't know how I recited that poem. I was very glad when it was all done. And I went and I sat back down in my seat, my cold folding chair, in a cold and gigantic, echoey auditorium. And I waited for the last 2 or 3 kids to recite their poem, so relieved that it wasn't me up on stage anymore. And when we were all done reciting our poems, the adjudicators compared notes and told us, who had placed 3rd and 2nd and 1st. And I was beyond shocked. I don't think I actually placed 3rd. I think I tied for 3rd. But I was blown away. Blown away. Did not expect that. Not at all. When I got home, on our way home, Mom said we could stop by the Finner's house and show Paul my 3rd place winnings and his beautiful wife, Rosemary. And I don't remember if their kids were already in bed or not. But anyway, and I remember, I don't know, Paul, you may remember this differently, but I feel like I remember crying. Mostly out of relief that it was all over, but also out of shock. Like, I still was just totally in shock that I had tied for 3rd place. And I think I remember being hugged by you, Paul Finner, and I remember you being not at all shocked that I had tied for 3rd place. Not at all shocked at the beautiful comments the adjudicator had written. He said, this was cleverly underplayed. It was so well phrased and intelligently argued that it became more compelling as a result. Try to look a little less worried, though. You were completely in tune with the poet, subject, and style. Anyway, I just remember Paul being not the least bit of surprised, because he thought I had it in me. He'd known all along I had it in me. He wasn't the least bit surprised. And he also wasn't the least bit surprised that I was crying and that I'd been scared to pieces, because he thought that was completely normal. And he thought I was braver than I thought I was. And so he was not the least bit surprised to find that I was braver than I thought I was. So anyway, brave souls, whenever you watch this little video, I hope that you're encouraged to be brave. And I hope that you begin to entertain the possibility that even if you don't feel brave, you might be being very brave right at this moment. And I don't know who the Paul Fenners of your life are, the Paul and Rosemary Fenners. But I hope that you have some in your life. I hope you had some in your childhood. But if you didn't, I hope you have some in your life now. People who, oh gosh, I can't even quote it right. I'll put it in the notes. Something A.A. Milne wrote. I think it's Winnie the Pooh that says it to Piglet, maybe? Or the other way around. But you are braver than you think. And I hope that you are reminded of that through this vlog today. Catch you later.